So, some of you may or may not know that Fortnite Chapter 3 is my favorite chapter of Fortnite, as it was the first chapter I ever played, and, you know, that's kind of how it is. I feel like most people's favorite chapter is the one where they started playing. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's how it seems to go. And with Fortnite doing mini-seasons at the end of every chapter, bringing back Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, it's really made me think, what's next? What are they going to do similar to this? Everyone's mind would immediately go to Chapter 3 OG, while some are against this idea because Chapter 3 is a bit too recent. And I do kind of agree with the idea that Chapter 3 is a bit too recent to do an OG season, but at the same time I don't think it's impossible because Fortnite, in Chapter 5, subtly teased the return of Chapter 2 in all of its seasons. Well, that sounds a bit disjointed to what I was just saying, but hear me out, it will make sense. Chapter 5 started with a spy season, which was one of the most popular seasons of Chapter 2. Chapter 2 Season 2 was also a spy season. The spy/heist theme of Chapter 5 Season 1 was definitely a bit more subtle, but it was there. It had like the vaults and bosses and everything, and, you know, Peely getting kidnapped and all that. Yeah, it kind of had like a spy heist theme. Chapter 5 Season 2, we saw the return of Midas, and even though he's returned quite a bit before, as underwhelming as it may have been, they really hyped it up and brought back the game mode The Floor is Lava from, you guessed it, Chapter 2. Chapter 5 Season 3's hint was a bit more subtle, but it was the return of the shark POI. I think it was called, I forgot what it was called, but they brought back the shark covered in like sand and stuff as a POI in Chapter 5 Season 3. Chapter 5 Season 4 was a Marvel season. Chapter 2 Season 4 was also a Marvel season. Both Marvel seasons in Season 4. Every season in Chapter 5 had some sort of hint leading up to the return of Chapter 2. Now, what does this have to do with Fortnite Chapter 3 returning? Well, there have been some hints here and there, two of which being official, and the other one being somewhat of a leak, more so just a goof from the developers that lead us to come to this conclusion, but it's interesting. Now I had to search the internet for a really good picture of this because I can't believe no one has really taken notice of this, but during Chapter 2 Remix, if you landed at the Spaghetti Grotto, at the front of the store you will notice graffiti made by Hope prominently featuring Dr. Sloan, who was a character introduced late into Chapter 2 but was very prominent in Fortnite Chapter 3. Now, why is this interesting? Well, it's not just a cool Easter egg or anything. In Chapter 2 Remix, it was confirmed that the character Hope can tell the future using her graffiti, and considering that Hope is in this picture next to Dr. Sloan, I think it's safe to say that she made this. And at the time, I think we all assumed that Dr. Sloan was coming back in Chapter 6. It hasn't happened yet so far. So that would lead me to believe that this might have something to do with Chapter 3 returning. I don't know. However, I think the more interesting piece of evidence is that all of the new cosmetics this season are labeled as introduced in Chapter 6 Mini Season 1. Not Chapter 6 Galactic Battle or Chapter 6 Season 3. This is a mini season that we're in right now. We went from Chapter 6 Season 1 to Season 2 to Chapter 6 Mini Season 1. Now, if this really was the only mini season in this chapter, then why would they label it as Mini Season 1? Well, because there's going to be one at the end of the year. And whether it be Fortnite Chapter 6 Mini Season Chapter 3 or something, or if it's something else, I don't know. But it is interesting. And you could assume that like they would do another mini season that has nothing to do with Chapter 3. But here's the heavy hitter. The Fortnite Chapter 3 map in October of last year was added back to the files temporarily. I'm honestly dumbfounded how us as a community so quickly glossed over this. Like, I remember hearing about this leak in October of last year, and then never again. Not a single soul has brought this up. Why else would they add this map back to the files right after they bring Chapter 2 back? Because it's next in line. It was clearly some goof by one of the developers because they must be planning to bring back Chapter 3, but someone at Epic accidentally added it back into the files way too early. And the fact that we're getting another mini season at the end of this chapter is even more solid proof that this might happen. And again, I am just dumbfounded how I really haven't seen anyone speculate this before, when it could not be more obvious that this is probably what they're building up to. I mean, for the past 2 years, at the end of each chapter, Fortnite brought back a previous chapter as a mini-season. The Chapter 3 map was recently added back into the game files by mistake or something, and now there's going to be another mini-season confirmed to be at the end of this chapter. I mean, it cannot be more obviously be Chapter 3. I just don't understand. I've seen one leak saying that the next mini-season is apparently a Simpsons mini-season, and I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. You wouldn't end an entire chapter on a Simpsons season of all things. And while I do believe a Simpsons collab is definitely inevitable, I don't think they have enough material to make it into a mini-season. I think if you wanted to end this chapter off with a mini-season like you've been doing, I don't think there's any type of mini-season that would make more sense than bringing Chapter 3 back, even though it is a bit recent, but it's also from 2021. It's like 4 years ago. It's not that recent. It's kind of nostalgic, but not really. Even then, it doesn't necessarily need to be Chapter 3 OG. I think the best thing they could do is bring the Chapter 3 map back, but continue off where Chapter 3 Season 4 left off, because that chapter was actually cut short and was one of the first chapters to only have 4 seasons instead of the usual 8 or 10. That's the best thing Fortnite can do in this situation. It'll make the Chapter 3 fans happy that they bring the Chapter 3 map back, and it also brings us something new for people who don't really want to play Chapter 3 again, but would just like something new out of a mini-season, instead of just an old chapter again. Do you think that Chapter 3 should come back, or are you on band with something like a Simpsons mini-season? I want to know. Leave a comment, and let's keep it non-toxic and respectful, because, you know, I know how this community is. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.